This is the realization of what happens to a community that runs out of water. There's no way to survive. Is this our future?
Also ich habe irgendwie Angst davor.
I'm afraid that we may eventually run out of water here.
Hier ausgeht.
Water is disappearing everywhere.
That suggests a huge global migration.
Societies need water to survive.
Did you know it takes about 3,000 gallons of water to produce just one single pair of jeans? Or that in America, each person uses nearly 80 to 100 gallons of water every single day, just at home. From your morning shower to your evening tea, water flows so effortlessly that we rarely stop to think. What if one day it didn't? In the richest, most technologically advanced nation on Earth, a silent crisis is tightening its grip. This isn't about a distant future or a far-off land. It's about America, a country that built its might on abundance, now standing on the brink of a $400 billion water war that could reshape its cities, collapse its farms, and divide its people like never before. Every time you twist that faucet handle, somewhere a farmer might lose an orchard, a town might lose its drinking supply, and a corporation might make millions trading the rights to that precious drop. The coming water war won't be fought with guns and tanks, but with pipelines, legal documents, and stock exchanges. Let's go deep beneath the cracked earth of California's Central Valley. This fertile crescent supplies 1/4 of America's food. Almonds, lettuce, grapes. The valley is America's dinner table. But today it looks more like a battlefield. Thousands of wells are running dry. Some farmers are drilling wells more than 2,000 feet deep, tapping into aquifers that took millennia to fill. Satellite images show the land literally sinking, in some places by almost 2 feet per year, as groundwater is sucked away. Meanwhile, the Colorado River, the artery of the American West, has lost about 20% of its flow over the last century. 7 states depend on it. 40 million people rely on it to live. But the river is in crisis. Lake Mead and Lake Powell, the 2 main reservoirs, have dropped to historic lows, exposing sun-bleached boats and abandoned marinas. Hydropower plants that keep the lights on for millions now face shutdowns. The Great Plains tell another chapter of this unfolding disaster. The Ogallala Aquifer, stretching from South Dakota down to Texas, irrigates nearly 1/5 of all U.S. cropland. It's disappearing so quickly that experts warn some sections might be completely unusable within 2 decades. Kansas farmers talk about the last harvest as if it's a funeral, because for many it is. Meanwhile, cities continue to grow relentlessly. Phoenix, Arizona, one of the fastest growing cities in the country, depends on dwindling river water and overdrawn aquifers. Officials recently had to halt new building permits in some areas because they could no longer guarantee water for new homes. Imagine owning a brand new house but not being able to live in it because there's no water to flush the toilets or take a shower. In Las Vegas, the battle has gone underground, literally. The city has banned most forms of grass, calling it non-functional. They've ripped up over 4 million square feet of lawns to conserve water. Decorative lakes are vanishing, and golf courses are switching to recycled wastewater. Yet behind the shimmering strip, Lake Mead continues to shrink. Once a symbol of American engineering might, it now stands as a tombstone for unsustainable growth. This is not just an environmental issue. It's a multi-billion-dollar economic threat. Agriculture in the U.S. is a trillion-dollar industry. When water disappears, so do jobs, exports, and entire rural economies. And here's where the war begins to look like something out of a corporate thriller. In 2020, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange introduced water futures trading. Investors can now bet on the price of water as if it were oil or wheat. Hedge funds and private equity firms are quietly buying up farmland and water rights, not to farm, but to hold water hostage for future profit. A billionaire in New York can now decide whether a farmer in Arizona can plant lettuce or let the fields turn to dust. Picture that. A distant executive determining what you eat for dinner or whether your city gets water at all. In California's San Joaquin Valley, powerful corporations have already started consolidating smaller farms, securing water rights in bulk. These water barons don't care about almonds or grapes. They care about controlling the most vital resource on Earth. When water becomes a tradable asset, communities become collateral damage. Small towns across the West are already experiencing the first tremors of this economic earthquake. In some California communities, residents rely entirely on bottled water because their taps deliver only brown, contaminated sludge. In Tulare County, entire neighborhoods live under do not drink orders, spending up to a fifth of their income just to buy safe water. Meanwhile, golf resorts a few miles away keep their greens lush and bright. But perhaps the most overlooked victims are America's native tribes. For decades, indigenous communities have fought for water rights promised to them in centuries-old treaties. Now, as scarcity intensifies, these rights are becoming flashpoints. Courtrooms turn into battlefields as tribes demand water for survival, not for speculation or corporate profit. The legal wars are ferocious. Dozens of lawsuits crisscross the West, tying up billions of dollars and decades of court time. Each case is a battle in the larger war: who owns the water and who deserves it. Even as cities scramble, some officials turn to extreme solutions. Los Angeles plans to recycle wastewater, turning toilet water directly into drinking water. This toilet-to-tap system sounds repulsive to many, but in a future with no alternatives, disgust may give way to necessity. Desalination, once a futuristic fantasy, is now a critical plan B. But these plants require massive energy and generate huge volumes of brine waste, harming marine ecosystems. San Diego operates the largest desalination plant in the Western Hemisphere, producing about 50 million gallons of fresh water daily. Yet that is just a fraction of what the city needs. Climate change only adds gasoline to this fire. Hotter temperatures mean less snowpack, which translates to reduced river flows. Longer droughts turn forests into tinderboxes, fueling megafires that destroy watersheds and further reduce available water supplies. The American lifestyle, built on lush lawns and endless consumption, is becoming unsustainable. A single golf course in Palm Springs uses enough water each year to supply 1,200 households. How long can this continue before society begins to crack? Inequality deepens as the crisis worsens. Wealthy neighborhoods install private wells, advanced filtration, and even private desalination systems. Meanwhile, lower-income families face rationing, skyrocketing bills, and permanent restrictions. The American dream of equal opportunity dissolves under the pressure of unequal water access. Imagine a future where states begin to close their borders to water refugees. Californians fleeing dry farms flood into Oregon and Washington, creating new internal migration crises. Local tensions flare, communities fracture. Lines drawn on maps turn into lines in the sand, literally. Could actual violence erupt? Perhaps. Already there are isolated reports of armed standoffs over water in rural areas. As scarcity becomes more severe, these incidents could spread, sparking regional conflicts that once seemed unimaginable on American soil. At the same time, geopolitical consequences ripple outward. America's agricultural exports decline, destabilizing global food markets. Countries that depend on U.S. grain and produce scramble to find new sources. As America retreats to manage its own water crisis, its influence weakens. Other nations, from China to Russia, exploit the vacuum. Yet even in this bleak picture, there is a flicker of innovation and hope. Researchers are developing new, hyper-efficient desalination membranes using graphene, which could slash energy costs and make ocean water a viable long-term supply. Cities experiment with sponge infrastructure, green roofs, permeable streets, and urban wetlands designed to capture every precious raindrop. Farmers are reviving ancient techniques like zai pits and terracing to trap moisture and rebuild soil health. But technological miracles alone won't solve a fundamentally human problem: the relentless demand for more. More lawns, more swimming pools, more cash crops, more golf courses. In the end, the crisis demands not just engineering, but a cultural transformation. Should water be treated as a human right, like air, or as a commodity to be bought and sold to the highest bidder? Can a society that has worshipped individual freedom make collective sacrifices to secure its future? The choices we make now will determine whether America remains a beacon of prosperity or crumbles into a patchwork of water-starved enclaves. The $400 billion figure is not just a headline, it's the estimated cost of infrastructure upgrades needed to secure future water supplies, pipelines, desalination, storage, a colossal sum that dwarfs most state budgets. The longer America waits, the higher that price tag climbs. And it is not just money that will be lost. Cultures will vanish as rural towns empty. Landscapes will transform from emerald green to dusty brown. Dreams will die as farms close and cities shrink. Next time you turn on a tap, listen carefully to that stream of water. Behind its gentle flow hides a roaring battle, one that will shape the next century of American life. As America stands at the precipice of this historic conflict, it must decide, will it adapt like the tortoise and the lizard, or will it become a cautionary tale of hubris and collapse? The water war is coming. The question is not when, but whether we are ready to face the flood of consequences.